What's up, everyone? Alex here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I wanted to talk about labels this month, and particularly I wanted to talk about the idea of compounding labels. So using more than one label for a singular gender experience. Not necessarily a single gender. I am bigender. I'm both male and neutroid, but I use 4, 5, 6 labels to encompass all of the experience of being bigender, because there's more than one label that can really explain and encompass what I experience. But that doesn't necessarily mean I have more than two genders. It's just multiple labels to describe using two genders, to describe having two genders, not using two genders. Sorry, I sat down and started recording immediately, and just like it's word vomit right now because I've had 2 cups of coffee. So the way that I compound labels, meaning using multiple labels on top of one another to describe an overall gender experience, sometimes I say I'm a demi-guy, sometimes I say I'm a non-binary man. Neutral male has been one that I've talked about before. Maverin is another one, or trans Maverin. I use both. I've generally said non-binary. I've generally said a-binary. I use multiple labels just to describe having two genders. But there's a lot of other examples of this. It's not necessarily a thing that multi-gender people do, but it has multi-gender people in mind. It's like, okay, I have two genders, but use like 4 or 5 labels to describe those genders. Or I have 4 genders and I use 12 labels to describe those genders. That's a pretty common experience, but that can extend to pretty much any kind of single gender experience or singular gender experience. So I don't mean to be looking down at a notebook. I just have examples written down, and I don't recite or rehearse these videos, so I'm just reading off a piece of paper. So one example you could use is someone who is agender, who describes the lack of gender using multiple related terms like gender null, gender blank, gender void. If they're mostly agender with a connection to another gender, they might use Libra gender, which is mostly agender, usually with a connection to the binary, or a connection to masculinity or femininity. But you can be Libra gender in any other kind of gender identity alongside that. Someone who is fluid flux, meaning both gender fluid and gender flux, might want to specify which genders are fluid and which ones fluctuate. So they might say non-binary fluid, xenofluid, boy flux, agender flux, sort of splitting it between the two parts of that identity. Someone who's fluid flux also might just generally use gender fluid and gender flux as 2 separate terms to describe their identity. It really just depends on the circumstance. If you're in a discussion about like non-binary experiences, you might use the term non-binary specifically, but if you're talking about Otherin experiences, you might use the term a-binary rather than non-binary when you're in these discussions. It's also entirely contextual. Someone might be generally non-binary and only reveal specific labels to people they know. So with just a casual like, hey, I'm a non-binary person, just everyday living, they might just say non-binary, but with people that they trust a little bit more, they might say a-binary. And they might even have more specific labels underneath that they'd use for absolutely only people that they can trust and would understand these identities. Typically online spaces. So they might be like in a public forum, or they might blog about it and use the hyper-specific labels, because that's like the one space that they can do that. So compounding labels could mean, using multiple labels for multiple genders, but it also could just mean using a bunch of different labels for a single gender, and it just depends on where the person is or what the conversation is. That determines what they want to use for a label. But yeah, it's normal to have more labels than you do genders. I'm still getting used to having 2 genders, but using like, what is it, four or 5 labels to describe that experience. Because the labels can just be descriptors. They do not have to, you don't have to be that gender in order to use it as a descriptor. I had brought up recently the idea of using xenogender as a descriptor rather than literally being xenogender, using xenic concepts or xeno-aligned concepts to describe your gender without being xenogender. So this kind of falls into the same premise where you might use something like Maverin to describe your gender, but you're not literally Maverin or literally Maverick. You might not even call yourself trans Maverin like I do. It entirely is being used as a descriptor. I guess that's pretty much it. Not much is going on right now. I am working on my queer memoir. I wanted to write and publish, maybe not a short memoir. It's too long to be a short memoir now. As of right now, I've got about 17,000 words written, and that's too long for a short memoir. So it's going to be a fully fleshed out long memoir. I guess I could have it any length that I want and just publish it, and I don't have to like describe like it's short or long, like and try to hit like a certain like word count goal to fit that. But yeah, I'm working on that. I wanted to write a memoir kind of tracking my gender experience since high school all the way up until now. And every year I find myself adding something new or having something new to add to this memoir. So I am currently working on fleshing out the Maverin part of it. But there's a number of other things I need to like fill in, especially like dates of certain events. So that's what I'm working on right now. It looks to be about 46 pages right now if you count the title page. So it's going great. It's interesting to have this project to work on, and that's pretty much it. So I am signing off for now. See you later.